Peter and Ed were friends. Peter Horton and Ed were friends. And some people kind of knew each other. I didn't know anybody. But Ed and Marshall brought them in knowing they were married. They knew they were married. And I don't think that they wanted people who were married to play a married couple. I'm just guessing that because I know they did not tell the network till after we had all gotten our jobs that they were actually married, even though they weren't playing a married couple.
Thanks for watching Hot Flashes and Cool Topics podcast. Be sure to subscribe and ring that bell to catch all of our conversations. Now, on to the show.
Welcome back to Hot Flashes and Cool Topics podcast. Today, we are so excited to welcome actress, writer, producer Mel Harris to the show. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here. Delighted.
Well, we're so happy to talk to you because, I mean, beyond the 30-something adoration, I just think you are representing the 50-plus woman with such a positive perspective. And that means whether you're gardening or you're chasing you call that the
Silkies?
chickens? Silkies.
They're silky. They are chickens, but they are silkies. They're Chinese. I believe the origin is Chinese.
Yeah, I just saw
ended
some.
up with by a strange story, but yeah.
I saw some this weekend. I was in Fredericksburg, Texas with my daughter, and the place I stayed had silkies.
Oh, that's so funny.
Little coop. Yeah.
I call them powder puff chickens. They have like little powder puffs on their heads.
They're so cute.
You know,
they are
cute. They're actually really lovely, friendly chickens. Not all chickens are, but these are really lovely. So, yeah.
Well, I guess
I got a coop in my backyard.
I was also saying, I guess my point is if you're not following her on IG, you need to follow her on Instagram, but you're just living your happy self. Has it been that way for you for a while, or has this been a journey?
Oh, I think everybody's life is a journey. And I think anybody who represents it differently is fooling themselves. I hope that's true for some people, but I find it really hard to believe. I mean, I'm a middle-class girl from New Jersey, spent my summers down at the Jersey Shore. And, I've ended up, I was going to be a lawyer. I wasn't going to be, there's none of this show business stuff in my family. And my nickname in my family is Hollywood, which is like, okay, because we all have nicknames. But yeah, I mean, I never would have imagined when I got on that bus from New Brunswick and went into the city to model, to make money, to go to college. I never imagined this is what it would then become. So you don't know where those forks are going to take you, but there's a lot of them in those roads.
That is amazing. You got on a bus by yourself, or did you have anybody
Oh God,
with you?
yes, of course. Oh no, I'm and my mother raised all of us to be independent people who could take care of themselves and do things, and who said, no matter, you could do anything you want as long as you're willing to, work for it and go after it. She was incredibly supportive of everything. And she was not around for my acting career, which she would have been gobsmacked by. But she would have been, she has every modeling job I ever did in portfolios. And I still have them, even the ugliest of the ugliest pictures. And she was incredibly proud of us as her children. But yeah.
That is amazing. That's great that you had a mother like that. I mean, because we don't hear that a lot. I think, and it's not that a mother didn't love their children, they did, but I think they had fears and things like that. And that your mother just sounds like she was really progressive.
My mother was very progressive. She was, 5 foot tall, little tiny thing. And she taught high school in New Brunswick Senior High School, which is a racially mixed high school during the riots and all that kind of stuff. But she was tough, but she was really, really smart. She worked on the Manhattan Project during the war. And she was just, she'd run a company today if she were here. But she taught school, which is a very admirable thing. And I'm glad that she did.
And harder.
Yeah, I did.
I think so.
I'm a former teacher. It is hard.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yes,
she was incredibly fair, but she didn't take anything off of anybody.
So you had been accepted to Barnard College, correct?
I did, yeah.
But you didn't go because you were actually making money as a model, which is,
yeah. I mean, I was
money.
Yeah, it wasn't even so much the money, but I was also traveling around the world. I was living in London and Paris and later in Milan and just doing all these amazing things, which was great. So I deferred for a couple of years, and then I just kind of really got much more into the career and the modeling, and that was working really well. And I was just kind of going along blindly, I must admit. I didn't have a master plan. And, making incredible money at that time. I mean, I remember other girls would complain about it. And I'm like, I think you should take your high school degree and go walk down Fifth Avenue and see what kind of job you could get. You're going to get a job at McDonald's for $2.50 an hour. This is in the late 70s.
Right.
And, I really appreciated the gift that I was given by having that ability to go and do that. It was a total fluke, just happened by accident.
And then how did the acting career come into play after that?
I did, and you may not remember this, but I did, not the career, but the store. I did a Woolworths Woolco commercial, which was a dime store at that time. We don't really have them now.
Woolworths,
I guess it would be like the Walmart or Kmart of today, kind of, in a way, not as big. And I worked one day, and this is probably in the early 80s. And I think I made $5,000 just to start. And then it was a network commercial where you could really make big, big money. And I thought, now this is the way to go. I'm going to have a very logical kind of business mind. And then I did another one for a floor cleaner, and they didn't like the way I said floor, from New Jersey.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And they dubbed me, and I was incensed. And I said, that is never going to happen to me again. So I started taking voice lessons, and I started studying acting with Lee Strasberg, and realizing that commercials, you could make a lot of money, but if you could look a certain way and walk and talk how they wanted you to, you could really make a nice living. And that's what I was doing. And it also freed up the modeling thing, whereas I would only take jobs that went to fabulous places, or that I worked with people that I knew that were absolutely fabulous. So it made it a really fun time in that particular career.
And your first role was in an Alfred Hitchcock show?
My first tiny role was in a film. I mean, it's this big, in an Alfred Hitchcock piece that was written or directed by Tom Rickman, the writer director. And I was a friend of Tom's. He said, why don't you come in and audition for this little part? And I got it. But my big break was I was auditioning, and I was sent an audition. I don't know anybody in these things. I just go in, I'm auditioning. I'm not of the community. And I ended up getting the part, and it was a pilot, TV/TV movie, which is what they were doing at the time. If your pilot didn't go, it was a TV movie for ABC. Aaron Spelling, starring David Soul, shooting in Hong Kong. How can you go wrong? Right. And I went and I did it. And it was fabulous. And I was with all these people who were very experienced, and I was very green. It was my first real big job. And they were all looking for houses for when the series went, and they live over there. I said, how do you know? How do you know it's going to go? They said, well, no, this is going to go. It's got a pedigree. It's, it's a great show, which it was. And it didn't go. It didn't get picked up. So it was a really good lesson early on about that. So that was my first big job.
And that was Hutch, right? That was Hutch.
I don't know which one he was. I don't know if he's Starsky or Hutch.
Oh, which
together.
one was
they're
he?
Like, they're like peanut butter and jelly.
Right. I can't remember which one was which either. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
I think so.
One.
So when it came time to audition for 30-something, your expectations weren't high because you were just coming off that experience, right?
Well, that was a year later. That was when they did pilot seasons, where every spring you would go out and audition for things. And I had an agent, and they were sending me out, and it was honestly, I don't want to say it was just another script in a denigrating way, because it wasn't just another script. It was a fabulous script written by Marshall Herskovitz and Ed Zwick. But I was also auditioning for other things. There was a show, I think it was CBS, called Zubets, that I was in the running for one of the leads on. And this was before I'd gone in on the 30-something. And I got an audition. I walked into the room, and I remember to this day, I said to Ed Marshall, I need to know, this first thing I said to her, I said, hi. And then I said, I need to know how long you've been living with me. And I didn't know it, because I was a young mother. I was, my kid was, how old was he then? 3. And, it was like my life was on these pages, but yet who were these guys? And it went from there. I came back and auditioned again and did network and all that kind of stuff. And I got the job.
How was that, like, the plan? Was the plan for Patricia Wettig's character to not be Hope? or to always be Nancy because of the whole dynamic of Ken Olin being married to her, but they didn't play spouses on the show.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I can't answer for Ed and
Okay, no,
Marshall, but I'm happy to surmise what I think they thought. You know, some of like Peter and Ed were friends. Peter Horton and Ed were friends, and some people kind of knew each other. I didn't know anybody, but Ed and Marshall brought them in knowing they were married. They knew they were married, and I don't think that they wanted people who were married to play a married couple. I'm just guessing that because I know they did not tell the network till after we had all gotten our jobs that they were actually married, even though they weren't playing a married couple, in case the network didn't really want to deal with whatever dynamic that would be.
Was
So
that awkward at all to know that I'm playing this one's his wife's right over there and I'm playing his wife? How
it
was
wasn't
that?
awkward for me.
It wasn't awkward.
Whether it was awkward for
Maybe
Ken and
him.
Patty,
Yeah.
you'd have to ask
Yeah.
them. But no, I mean it's that's what I do. I mean, it's what we do. We pretend that we're in love with someone. We pretend we're married with someone. We pretend we hate someone. We pretend we're going to shoot someone. You know, it's all an illusion. I hate to tell everybody it's an illusion.
Please,
and,
we're pressing for the reboot. I know that we'll talk about that in a little bit, but you know, we want that fan because we were right there watching.
Oh yeah, that was every week. I can, you know, just remember I lived in an apartment. It was my last year of college, and my roommate was in, or my apartment mate, she was in her room. And when something would happen, we'd watch it in our own individual rooms, and something would happen. And I'd come down the stairs and she would be meeting me to discuss, oh my gosh, can you believe that happened? Can you believe this or that? It's like we had to watch it on our own and then have a meeting about it together.
That's pretty funny. There was a lot of water cooler talk the next morning.
Yes.
Oh,
that
definitely.
Went on 30-something. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. Do you feel when the 7 of you were cast, was there a table read in the beginning? How did you feel like everything kind of clicked into place?
There were table reads. I mean, there's certainly a table read for the network and all of that kind of thing. And as the seasons went on, we had a table read every day before the next episode would shoot. Not every day, but once a week we would read the next. If the entire 4 years we did that, and it was great. It was good for the writers. You get to hear it. It's really wonderful. But you know, we were 7 relatively green people. I was among the greenest. I think maybe Ken had the most experience, but nobody was coming off of being the star of a series or anything like that. Nobody was totally enmeshed in that. And that includes Marshall and Ed as well. I mean, although they had experience, nothing to the magnitude that this show brought to all of us. And, you know, I can't do anything but credit Marshall and Ed for putting together a tribe of 7 that meshed. And, you know, yes, you can mesh. I can act a scene with anybody, even if I hate them, even if I'm pretend I'm loving them. That's my job. But you always knew that whoever you were in a scene with was there for you, had your back, as well as their ability to bring what they need to bring for their role to the screen. And, you know, that's such a gift to know that your butt is covered that way. It's just, it lets you be free. It lets you experiment. And we were all very supportive of the show, supportive of people who came into the show. You know, we had a lot of guest stars who went on to have shows of their own and that kind of thing. So it was very, and it only exponentially multiplied upon itself. And to this day, we're all still, you probably know this, but we're all still friends. We all still stay in touch. I talked to Peter Horton the other day, and, you know, I could call any of them and say, listen, I could really use this. Could you help me with this? Whatever it is. I don't know. And vice versa.
Yeah, I was going to ask that because it seems like you are. I mean, it seems like everybody from that cast goes on and does different things. I can remember, like, my daughter was a big Naked Brothers band person, and I remember seeing video of all of you with Polly Draper, just kind of supporting.
Polly asked us to come and do that, and we did.
Yeah, I mean, I loved. We've had Melissa Gilbert on, and she's married to Timothy Busfield. And she was telling us, gosh, how long ago was that, Colleen?
A couple of years ago.
I think she started to mention there was talk of a 30-something, you know, reunion. And she said, but COVID, like you've also shared on your Instagram, COVID shut it down. And I
did.
know, can you share what you're
Yeah, I was going to say,
talking
can you
about?
share that
Yeah.
story?
What about being shut down?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And what we can do.
yeah, thick in production, wardrobe. We were going to shoot it in Jersey. And I mean, it was just going. It was gangbusters. They had sets and, makeup artists. I mean, just the whole gang, pre-production. I mean, we were probably 3 days away from shooting, from starting filming. And we had a network reading, all of the big brass ABC. They were all into a big fancy hotel in Manhattan. And we had the reading and it went great. It was terrific. And we were supposed to have dinner with the network that night. It was going to be a big dinner. Everybody was there. And between the reading and the network, the network paused everything, as did the world. I mean, the world just went into, as you know, a cocoon at that point. And, when they came up for air, I mean, they made, one David Kelly pilot that was an automatic, you have to make it or pay me kind of deal thing. I don't really know for a fact, but I do know they made a David Kelly pilot as opposed to 20 other pilots, of which we were one. And the business took a good couple of years to get back on its feet at a minimum. I mean, and it's changed. The whole streaming thing got some fuel in that fire during COVID. And so it never came back in terms of for ABC.
That's just wrong.
It's wrong. And I know you're sharing. You have your 30-something Thursdays.
30-something Thursdays. Please watch my 30 and send me your questions. I want to answer your questions.
Instagram. Again, follow her on Instagram.
And there's a hashtag too, isn't there? Where people can put a hashtag if they want.
Where is 30-something?
Where is 30-something? So put that up there, everybody. We got to know. I just hit my desk. I'm so excited. I hit my desk. Yeah.
It's not dead yet though.
That's right. So
what can listeners do to help?
Well, I don't have anything
concrete
that I can tell them to do. If it gets there at some point, I will ask. But it's I have to be very careful because there's what I know and what I can share.
Right.
And it is progressing. This is a sequel. A sequel is progressing, and we are waiting to hear about it. It is taking a very, very long time, but it has been a really good foundational progression. So people are interested, as well as the streaming. Now, MGM owns the streaming, so I imagine that if a sequel were to be made, that they would be a part of that. I mean, what a treasure trove to meld the two shows.
Oh,
but
wow.
You would do all sorts of flashbacks and all sorts of stuff. Because the new, I assume that if we were to do a sequel, it would be similar to what we were supposed to do before COVID. But it entails the lives of us, the original characters, and their children who are now 30-something.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And Gary the ghost.
Gary the ghost. Well, my idea for Gary is that he should come back as the ghost and sit on Michael's shoulder 24/7 and bug him.
I like that.
Oh,
that can go.
That Gary episode. Oh my gosh, that took me a while to get over that. It was
a stomach punch.
Yeah. And you said 4 years, so was it only on for 4 years?
4 years, yeah. And then I believe
goodness.
Ed and Marshall decided they wanted to go and do other things. They've been working on films and stuff in between, and Bob Iger agreed with them. But then he subsequently has said, I don't know if it was in his book or in an interview, he said, that was not a good decision. I should have left it on. But
because they definitely left when it was on a high. And
Oh yeah. Okay. We were a very successful show. And we weren't a top 10 show, occasionally, but our demographics for what the advertisers like were bonkers. You want to sell soap and diapers? Go to commercial and 30-something.
Because
that's a really good point.
Yes. Yeah.
And you were even pregnant on one of the what was it, season 3? I think you were pregnant.
Season 3. Yes, I was pregnant.
What was that like?
Well,
trying to hide it,
Well, they included it.
Oh, right,
that's Leo.
Right, I'm forgetting.
We didn't hide it.
But
no.
didn't you?
That's baby Leo in there that you see. I was a walking walrus.
I totally forgot.
No, I worked up to basically the day I was due.
Didn't your water break like the night when you were supposed to come in and shoot that day or something like that?
Yeah. So the real story, you could read Ed's book. He has a slightly different story than I have, but I was there, so I think my story's better. So No, but I worked, and I was supposed to shoot it was April 3rd. I remember the day. And about 4:30 in the morning, my water broke and I was in serious labor already. I don't have very long labors. So I woke my husband up and I said, need to get ready. We're going to go to the hospital and have a baby. And the next person I called was our second assistant director, who's in charge of getting everybody there on time and whatever. And I said, I'm in labor. I'm on my way to the hospital. So have a great day. Um, and I actually even have a call sheet from that day, which is our schedule for the day of how we would shoot. I even have a schedule from the day that said the B schedule, because Mel's gone into labor. So it's a wonderful little memento in my child's scrapbook. But I found out recently, thank you, Instagram. I was conversing with the second assistant director, and he told me that the second call he made was to Timmy Busfield, who was up in Sacramento, where he had a children's theater and a place. And he said, you need to get your butt down here because you're the B schedule, and Mel's on the way to the hospital. So that's the story of my water breaking. And I was at work 3 days later, shooting a scene they needed and doing some dubbing and stuff like that. I just took my baby with me.
Oh my goodness. 3 days. Ooh,
that's kind of crazy.
Back in the day, you were in the hospital like 5 days, like way back.
I know. With my first, I was in the hospital like 3 days. And the second, I was like, can I go now? I'm done. This is not a place to rest. Right. Hospitals are not a place to rest, unfortunately. No. So that's my birthing story. And hence baby Leo was born.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally blanked on that.
But it just followed the lives. And I think at the time I was in my 20s. So I was like, oh, this is what life might be like. And it kind of, was kind of hectic, just like it was for the people on the show. I feel like my 30s were like the craziest time of my life. Like I felt like I had
more than your 20s. See, I think the 20s are insane.
You think the 20s? Oh,
I was so happy to be 30. I know that sounds weird. I was so happy to be 30.
I was happy to be 40. And I'm actually
the same kind of feeling, though. You sort of pick that marker to go into.
Go up. And
I was pretty excited to turn 50 too. Like that was.
Yeah. I'm excited for every birthday because what's your choice, first of all? You might as well embrace them and be what they are. And hey, you're here. You're up above this side of the grass. So enjoy it.
And we hear from so many of our guests that when they turn 60, that it's like this really great time. Like, I don't know if it is something that, and I find this with every decade, that you get to know yourself a little better and you get to know what you truly like. And we've heard that from so many of our guests that when I hit 60, it's like something happened. Some went back and got a PhD. Some fell into some hobby that they absolutely adored that they never tried in their life. Do you find that to be the same thing?
It's interesting because I think that I don't know that I would pick a particular decade like 60s. None of the ages scare me. And first of all, I'm not old, I'm older. And there's a vast difference in that. And I think there's a lot about your mental thing. But what I find is that life is such a journey. It's such a journey. When you're a teenager, you're so worried about getting away from your parents and who are you and where do you fit in and all of this stuff that we go along and we carry the judgmental of the outside world on us. And you know what? I think one of the freedoms of getting older is that you just don't care. If you don't like me or you don't like my choices or whatever, just as I'm living life. Okay. That's, you're missing out, babe. You should be my friend because I'm great. I don't know what to tell you.
And that leads me to friendships. How have your friendships evolved as you've gotten a little bit older? Are they more important in your life?
I am a person who's very self-entertaining. I'm rarely bored, but I have had friendships all my life. I don't have tons of friendships. I have a lot of acquaintances, but I have tons of friendship. I'm still very, very good friends with my childhood best friend from 4th grade. And we live in different parts of the world and we've gone through different things, but it's really amazing. So, and my friends from LA, people I met early on, a friend I met doing Harry's Hong Kong, which was the Aaron Spelling pilot, was the wife at the time of the director of the set of the first AD. And we're still great friends. So it kind of goes along with that. The other blessing that I have in my life is I have two sisters, and the three of us, are thick as thieves. And that's really, really nice. And they lived on the East Coast. And now that I've moved back to the East Coast, I get to see them even more. So that's lovely. So I guess they've always been important to me. And I don't know, but I'm always open to new friendships. You never know.
That is true.
Yeah.
Were you going to ask a question?
Oh, well, I was, but if you want to
No. Go ahead.
back, then I will go on. Yeah, I was going to say, and so where you're living now, and I see on your Instagram, your flowers, your chickens. How were you always interested in that, or that just evolved from something else?
They all sort of evolved from something else. I mean, there are many things I've always been into. I've always been a baker. I love to cook. I fell into house remodeling when I bought my first apartment in New York City that was studs and drywall, and just kind of designed a kitchen. I have no experience whatsoever in it, nothing. And I designed a kitchen because I didn't like the one the contractor was doing in the bathrooms, and kind of fell into that. And subsequently from there, I continued to buy houses or apartment buildings and fix them up and live in them, sell them, move on. And that's what I've done up here. Now, this is my 13th project of some sort up here. Yeah. But like the chickens, they just happened because I would always go to a store up here called Tractor Supply, which is like a farm store. And every spring they would have little baby chickens. Well, we were never here long enough, never in one place. We traveled a lot back and forth to LA to have them. Well, COVID solved that problem. We were going to be here. I said, we're going to Tractor Supply and going to get some chickens. So we went and got chickens, and that's kind of how that started. And then we started traveling again. So I sent those chickens to my friends. And now I have chickens again, silky chickens, little powder puff head ones. And my son's friend kind of wanted them, and they were going to come and house sit. And they asked if they could have the chickens. I said, yeah. And then they would find a home for them. I was like, well, you can leave them for the summer. So now I have silkies for the summer. I have summer silkies. That's a good one.
That is. Yeah.
Summer silkies. Because I see how much attention it is when they have to be bathed. I was watching.
Oh, I saw that.
The Instagram that you have to make sure they're dry. And they can't
dry. And, you have to watch out for poopy butts.
Yes.
That's where all that stuff comes out. It's not just poop. Out of their vent. So, but you know what? I've had kids. I mean, seriously, it's like,
I love. Yeah, you had baby wipes. You're like, these are baby wipes, and I'm like, oh, I mean, it's
the blow dry was a little extreme, but
you know what? It worked.
It's cute.
It worked. It's
exactly.
funny. I have a lot of sisters, and you were talking about. I have 9 sisters. And
holy camole!
Yeah, I have 2 brothers.
Are you Irish?
No. Well, you would think everybody thinks Bridget and Colleen that we're Irish, we're Italian, but grew up in Kentucky.
They ran out of names.
They had to go to another country.
You got any boys?
2 boys. 2 boys.
Holy
yeah.
camole.
10 girls, 2 boys. But it's funny. Some of them are so good. Like I have a sister that has an organic flower farm in Kentucky where I'm from.
Bless her soul.
I mean, she is all about it. She's my hippie sister. And then she does have chickens. And then I have another sister with chickens, 2 nieces with chickens. And I don't know what happened to me, if I was asleep when they were learning all this stuff, but I can't do any of it. Like I do remember having calves when I was younger and having to feed them bottles, but I don't know how to do any of that. And
but you could teach yourself. You say that.
Myself.
But see, okay, so here's one thing about getting older.
Yes.
It's the self-limiters start to fade away.
Yeah.
Right.
And you could go right now and ask ChatGPT.
That's true. Mm-hmm.
What chicken should I buy that are easiest to start? What do I have to do to maintain them? It's not really hard or bad. And you know what? Once you eat those eggs,
they're so much better. They're so much
better.
You
don't go back.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's very hard.
Yeah. What drew you back to the East Coast? Was it family or just wanting to?
Well, I'm a Jersey girl. And my husband is a Jersey boy, actually.
Ooh, okay.
And we both separately started. Excuse me. We both separately lived in LA temporarily for 30 years. So, and then we have 4 kids between us, and they were living all over the place. One travels the world, and one in Chicago, and a couple in Oregon. So, and we had 3 sisters back here and a brother at that time. and we thought, well, why don't we come back, maybe explore living in New York, which we liked. We both liked New York. And we came back one time to look at apartments. It was February. There was a blizzard in New York. And we were walking up to see an apartment. We walked through Central Park and we saw someone with a violin case and a cello and a bass and what's the other little one, a viola or something.
Viola.
And yeah. Walking through Central Park. Where do you see that? You're not going to see that in LA. You're not. And we thought, this is just so cool. And we love the park. So we moved back. We rented a place first. And we went the first couple of years we were here, we lived here, but we spent 7 months a year in LA working. So yeah, that's how we ended up here. It's great.
Do you want to continue with acting, or are you kind of happy where you're at right now? If
Oh,
an
no.
opportunity came?
I'm still doing it, but I get to be really picky. I don't know. That's, I've got this lovely life. I've worked really hard, and I'm, it comes along. Some things I'm interested in, and some things just I'm just like, no, pass. No, I'm really not interested in that. So
I think I saw Queen of Knives. Was that something?
Queen of Knives,
King and Queen of Knives.
Yeah.
Which was. I thought it was really funny. I mean, I thought, or not just had some really interesting, just comedic parts in it too.
Oh, they're funny movies.
Yes,
They're funny movies, that we did. I had a ball doing. It was another wonderful group of people, independent films, and so I loved it. It's great. They shot it in New York. It was super.
Oh, that's nice. I mean, it's nice to be close. Yeah,
there could be a 30-something else. So
that's right. I know
there could be a 30-something else. Yeah,
I mean, we need people.
Hopefully,
let's come out there. Let's come together. We can do it. Look what we've done recently, like people's voices getting together and saying what they want.
It's important.
It's
important to do
right.
Whatever the topic is, for sure.
Right.
But, and every time I talk about an update on my Instagram, it gets over 250,000 hits. I mean, it's just like
people want it,
insane.
And they can't stream it anymore, can they?
Well, no, it's never been streamable in the true sense of the word. I mean, it ran on some reruns for a while at Lifetime and then Ion and those sorts of things. People write to me and tell me that they can see some of them on YouTube. Mm-hmm. And I'm assuming that's without the original music, but I don't really know that or what the quality of it is. So it's not technically streaming anywhere.
Right. You can catch some scenes and things like that
from
it. Right. And because it keeps popping up all over my YouTube. So it must know my demographic.
There you go.
Yes. Yeah.
It does pop up a lot. We often ask our guests about their menopause experience. So if you are comfortable talking about that, what was yours like?
I don't care.
Right. That's usually the response we get.
I got nothing to hide. Hey, once you have 2 babies, go through labor, delivery.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, do you have specific questions or?
Well, around what time was it early for you? Was it later? Was
late? I was 56.
Wow.
Oh, right around the same.
Late. Yeah.
And did you have a long perimenopause, like where your hormones were going everywhere, or was it pretty?
No, I mean, I'm not going to have any really terrible tale to tell about menopause. And mine was actually pretty, I don't know if it's great, but it was fine. It's just another process that I went through. I didn't have terrible swings. I didn't have nights. I didn't have sweats. I didn't have any of that kind of stuff. I mean, I knew it was happening and eventually my period stopped, but I felt very lucky and very blessed because my older sister had a terrible menopause. Just classic bad story, kind of.
So you were kind of expecting the worst?
Well, I sort of did, but but then when it happened, it didn't really happen that way. And then I was done and it was good. So, for me, it was a non-event, even though it was an event. I mean, how can it not be an event? But yeah.
Oh, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. I mean, there are people that go through it super easy. And like Colleen, you didn't have really the vasomotor.
Yeah,
things.
I had night sweats and brain fog. And
I had the worst. And my oldest sister, when she was 17 when I was born. So I just thought, she's just turning that thermostat down to get attention. I'm like, well, that came back to get me. It really did. Karma just saw me acting like that and came and got me. So I guess I got what I deserved. I don't know. But it's good to hear that some people do have it smooth, and it is so different for everybody.
It's so different for everybody, just like
Yep.
labor and that kind of. I mean, we're three sisters from the same parents, and we have three different kinds of labors.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I have three
Yeah,
sisters.
yeah.
Well, there's four of us, and all different in all of the
Right?
journeys. And do
Yeah.
you find, because I have found this, Bridget, you're been close with your siblings forever, but do you find that as you get older, there's kind of a connection that you make with your siblings, that when you're going through the raising the kids, doing the business, doing whatever, you don't have that time to really connect? And as we get a little older, like, we're the only ones who lived through that journey. Like, we're the only ones who know what it was like to live in our home and our relationships. Do you find getting closer to your siblings as you get older?
Is that for me?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, no, I
I thought
didn't
maybe it
mean
was
I
Bridget.
know Bridget's
Uh,
close to her siblings. I'm sorry.
no, no, it's okay. Well, um, it's well now we're geographically closer, so that
Right.
that that lends itself to it. But we've always been a pretty close knit family, and um, I had a brother who I wasn't as close with, but there were times when I was, and we just kind of drifted apart for certain reasons. Um, but yeah, I mean, we're just family. But I don't know that I think one of the interesting things that does happen as you get older with people that you care about and love, whether they're your sisters or your brothers, your friends, your girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever they are, um, I think things happen in life experiences that they need us for, to be there to support them, whether it's an illness or an event or something's going on with one of their children or who are now adults. So I think that there's a support system that comes and that we're all able to give now because we have a little more free time because our children are grown and we're able to do that. But at the same time, when you're having kids, when you're doing all those things, when you're running around and you're doing it, my family was always there. My family, I remember my husband at the time flew my sisters out to California for a surprise party the night before I was leaving for Hong Kong to do the Aaron spelling pilot. And we'd had a huge fight at whatever dinner we went. We took me out to dinner to come back so that we'd had a huge fight. And I came in, I was crying, and then they were there and I was crying some more, and it was crazy. So, they flew all the way across the country to do that. So I feel very supported by it. And I feel very blessed by it.
Yeah. Yeah. But I do agree, Colleen, as well as knowing, I feel like when I'm older, I do have more time with them.
Right.
I live really close to one of my sisters, and Colleen knows her. And, but we do like sister trips now. Like, we're getting ready to go to Charleston, South Carolina, just for, not all of us
Yeah,
are going.
we've started to do that too.
Yeah.
They
Which is
often
so
involve
nice.
Atlantic City right now, but
Of course they do. Or Seaside.
Yeah.
yeah, or Seaside, right? Well, that's a big family one, but we're talking about, coming up with another one where we do the sisters.
It
It's
just
a lot of fun.
seems like, I don't know, and I'm speaking for myself too because of my siblings, that there's just some connection to a history there, that when you're creating your own life, having the children, working, trying to, married and all that stuff, it's not that it's not important, but you can't devote as much time, maybe is what I'm saying, to
Right,
it
which
as
is
you can.
true. But I think also, I mean, I'm just assuming here from our conversation, we're three people who are relatively close with their siblings, no matter what that is. I don't think everybody feels that way about their siblings.
True.
I have people who don't really have much of a relationship with their siblings,
Yeah. I've seen that
for
as
whatever those
well.
reasons are, maybe because they have those memories. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
just,
That's
it's
true. You
just a
Right.
don't
different
always
kind of
know how they
thing.
were raised. It's true.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
what they are in each other and where they've gone and where we all go to college or whatever it is that we do as we move through our adult life. And, your 20s, as I said before, I was so glad to be out of my 20s, are incredibly formative for those things.
Mhm.
You're very often meeting someone you'll be with or making new friends that will be with you for life, finding a career or a career journey. that you might take, and it might be very different than what your family is, and and also just might not be an experience. So I wouldn't want. I think it's really important for people to feel, however they've made that journey in life, whether they're still close with their family or they're not, and it's for whatever reason they needed that to be in their life. And there's lots of places you can get fulfillment also with this, whether it's friends or spouses or work, but less work, more play.
Yeah.
And that's interesting because if hopefully, fingers crossed, 30 something else does come back, it's going to, that spotlight is going to be there. And are you looking forward to that? Or is that something that you're like, I, don't really want to have to be attending all these events and doing all these things again?
Well, that is a part of my job, and that's what I do. So that's business. That's a different thing. But it's really interesting. My husband actually wrote the Wonder Years. He did the Wonder Years for after the initial creators left after 6 episodes or whatever they did. And he finished. He did the next 5 years. So we both have been on hit shows, but yet there was no social media. There were no phones. There were no thing, and we feel really grateful for that. But it's just a part. It's just a part of what it is. I mean, I still, if I go out in public, and most often I have no makeup on and a baseball cap and whatever else it is, and people recognize me, and I'm gobsmacked by that. That all these years, and I've done other things, but still, you stand in the grocery store, you're at the airport, you're in the middle of the Prado Museum in Spain, and I'm just like, really? So it always surprises me the intensity with which people are kind of following or awed by the celebrity, and it's only compounded now. So it's just a part of the job. It's what you do. If you want to do that, it's just, I don't know. You're putting yourself out there. It's a part of it.
And you're right, because now it would be even more so because social media and the way the press is different now, and it would be a very unique experience. But we hope, our fingers are crossed. We hope.
We are all hopeful.
Yes.
Play on words there, but thank you so much for coming on the show. We appreciate it.
Oh my goodness. Thank you. I appreciate you being here. It's fun. We had a good time.
It is. Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yes. Absolutely. And I will update people on my Instagram. So follow as soon as I know.
Right.
And we will have that link in the show notes. So it'll be easy for people to follow.
Super.
You.